My goodness, friends, wouldn't it have been good if I would have actually hit go live? I've been sitting here talking to myself. I've been saying hello to everyone, and I hadn't even pushed the go live button. So now that I'm here, please let me know if you can hear me okay. I can see that my camera is working well. Please let me know if you can hear me. I don't want to go any further because that was an amateur mistake on my part. Goodness, 9 minutes into it and I hadn't even hit go live yet. So I apologize for that, guys. My goodness. So Nisi, can you hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear okay? Can I get a thumbs up? I see you laughing, so obviously you must have heard that I was being a goof. I'm tired. Um, so I apologize, everybody, but I'm going to wait for somebody to give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Apologies to those that I've lost while I was thinking I was speaking to you. Thank you, Nisi. Okay. While you're getting something for breakfast there, Nisi, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. I actually counted out all of my chains thinking that I was live. Oh my goodness. So we're going to start block number 5, which is going to be our first block that's going to have any texture. It's the first block that uses the standard stitches that some of you possibly have just learned how to do for the first time. And for those of you who know how to work them, you're with me right here and we're ready to go. So I've chained 27 with the color A. That's the color that you purchased the most of. For me, that color is white. So I have 27 chains here. So now that I have 27 chained, and I'm hoping that everybody's going to be able to catch up with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the next part real quick here. I'm going to switch over our banner, and we're going to half double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in each chain across. So keeping in mind as I take my hook out here so I can use it to kind of point with, this loop that was on our hook, that does not count. That's the one that's on our hook. We don't count that as a chain. But here we have one. Let me hold this up real close. So we're not counting this, but here we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to half double crochet in this chain right here. So marking that with my thumb right here, I'm going to put my hook back on my yarn here, my yarn back on my hook. We're going to half double crochet in this here. So we're going to yarn over, go into our chain, yarn over, grabbing our yarn and pulling it back through. We have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. And that is our first half double crochet. We're going to do 25 half double crochets across to the end. Yarn over into our next stitch, going through that stitch and grabbing our yarn and pulling it back through so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. There's our second half double crochet. We're just going to do this all the way across. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to stop counting so I don't throw you off on your count on your end, and I will resume speaking when I get to the end down here. Good morning, Lynette. Good morning, Glenda. And 25. So for those of you who have just joined us, good morning, Lisa the Grammy. So for those of you who just joined us, I do want to apologize. It does show that we're 16 minutes into our live. However, for the first 9 minutes, I was brain damaged. I was drain bramaged, and I forgot to push live. I didn't go live. I was sitting here just speaking to myself and having a good old conversation with myself, and nobody was in here with me, and I couldn't understand what was going on, and it was because I hadn't pushed live. So I've since pressed live, and all of you lovely people are in here with me this morning, and I appreciate that. What we did for our block number 5, there is a tutorial up if you had not had the chance to catch that and see what we're doing today is the tutorial for block number 5 is going to be the front loop and back loop half double crochet. I've already started here, and what we did is we loosely chained 27, and I've just completed row 1, and the instructions are scrolling at the bottom of the page. Let's see, can I do this appropriately right there, down there? Ooh, right there should be your instructions that you can see. Good morning, Lisa. You woke up late and getting coffee. I woke up late and didn't push live on this video for the first 9 minutes. I was just talking to myself. So what we did then, according to our instructions that are scrolling across the bottom, is we did a half double crochet in the 3rd chain from hook, and each chain across, giving us a total of 25 half double crochets, and that's what we have right here. Yeah, Lisa, I'm sleeping. See, I'm still tired. I am suffering from sleep deprivation. I did not actually go to bed till, I don't know, 3:30 this morning. And that's because I was up late last night with my co-host Lisa from Yogi Hollow Farm and my other co-hosts, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch and Casey from Ormsby Farm. We were doing some recording, some pre-recording for our podcast around the hay bale. And we didn't go to bed until late. But I stayed up later than that because I started reading some emails that YouTube sent me. Lisa will know what I'm talking about. So I kind of got caught up in that last night. So if you've had the chance to get caught up, and even if you haven't, the instructions will always be there at the bottom for you. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move to row number 2. So let me change the same time you went to sleep too, Lisa. It made for a long, long night and a very early morning. Okay. So here we have row 2. Scrolling across the bottom of our page, and here we're going to start row 2. Now, if you're just now joining us and you want to participate in this crochet along, just know that on my channel, I have tutorials up for every stitch that we will be doing. They drop every week for the tutorials. We're starting at the very beginning with a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then a double crochet, then a treble crochet, and today's the first day for a textured stitch. Those tutorials are available on my page for left-handers and for right-handers. So you can go back if you need those, you've got them. And then also all of the lives where we come together every week on Thursday mornings and we work a stitch to complete a block for our Heirloom Afghan. We do this every Thursday. All of those are available as well. So you can go back and watch those if you want to see about getting caught up. So this is block number 5. Nisi, you tossed and turned all night last night. My goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. We're going to start row 2. So according to our instructions, we're going to chain 2. And this brings our row up to the level. You know, we're kind of working up, and we're going to turn that work around. And just for those of you who are joining us for the first time, no, there's nothing wrong with your camera. I am a lefty. Your dogs kept you up all night? Sorry to hear that, Grace and Fire. I think once I finally went to bed, I was out like a log. It didn't take much for me to go to bed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a half double crochet in the back loop only of our first half double crochet from the prior row. So this right here, this is our first half double crochet right here. This is a chain, and this is a chain, and this is our first half double crochet from the prior row. And if you watched our tutorial on how to do this stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to be working in these little V's that are on the top of our stitches of the row as we go across. 2 little loops right here make these V's. The ones that are closest to you, let me take this out because I like to use it for a pointer. The little part of the V that's closest to you, that's going to be your front loop. The part of the V that is the furthest from you, that's going to be your back loop. And as we work across this row, we're going to be working in the back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop as we go across. And this is going to give us a nice little textured look. And if you can do this however best works for you, but I shared in the video, and I can't quite do it because we're just at the beginning of the work here. But as you see, I'll be folding my work a little bit forward, and it helps me gain access to some of the loops that I need. So this is our first single crochet from the prior loop. We're going to do a half double crochet in the back loop only of our first half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, and I'm going to use my hook to kind of push that front loop out of the way just a little bit so I can just grab that back loop. I've only got the one portion of the prior stitch from below onto my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull our yarn through so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that completes our first half double crochet of this row. And here's our front loop right here. We didn't work into that front loop. It's going to hang in the front. We worked only in the back loop. That's where our half double crochet is. Now moving to our next stitch, according to our pattern, we're going to work a half double crochet in the front loop only of our next stitch from the prior row. So that's this one right here. This is our back loop back here. We're only going to work in the front loop. So let me put my hook back on here. We're going to yarn over, and if you watch the tutorials, one thing that helps me a lot is I like to kind of angle my hook from the bottom pointing up on my stitch because it helps it so that I can only catch the front loop of that prior stitch. So you see there, I've gone through that loop. There's the back loop behind my hook. I'm not catching the whole stitch from the prior row. This is just the front loop. I'm going to wrap my yarn around and pull it through. I have 3 loops on my hook, wrapping the yarn around and pulling through all 3 loops on the hook. So now we've done a back loop half double crochet and a front loop half double crochet. So let me see what's going on here. My son has already asked for biscuits and gravy for breakfast. Yum! That sounds delicious, Lisa. Share you out. Thank you. Did you skip the first loop after you turned? No. When you turn, you're going to work in the first half double crochet from the prior row. What I did was I showed there's the 2 chains where we chained up. You want to work in the very first half double crochet. So let me take those out so I can back that up a little bit and show you. Because I'm tired, I want to make sure I didn't accidentally miss something. Actually, let me take out our chain 2 so I can show. Okay, so here we are on row 1. This is our last half double crochet that we just completed right here. This is our stitch. So I'm going to chain 1, 2. So this is a chain and this is a chain. We don't want to work in these 2 chains. We're going to work right here, right here. I'm going to turn our work And this is the stitch. You know what? Let me grab, what happened to my little stitch marker so it's easier for you guys to see. Let me grab a stitch marker. I was actually messing with it earlier. I was playing with my, oh, there it is. I found my stitch marker. Let's do it this way so that it makes some really good sense for you guys. So I'm going to take out my last half double crochet. So right here, I'm on 24 of row 1. This is our last chain of our beginning chain here. We're going to do a half double crochet in that very last chain, making half double crochet number 25. So this is our stitch right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my little stitch marker. I'm just going to put it through there so we know that's where we're going to work on our next row. We're going to chain 2 and turn. And I know it can be confusing sometimes when you're chaining and turning. So make sure that if you have stitch markers and they're beneficial, grab those because that can help. Yes, Grace and Fire, put me up on the big TV so you can see my hands. Don't criticize my mani though. I need to fix a new mani. So here we're going to go ahead and turn our work. And here's this first stitch that we're going to work in right here, right? We know this is our first stitch. This is where our marker is. We're going to want to do a half double crochet in the back loop only. Do you see how our stitch marker split that in half right there? This is our front loop because it's closest to us as we're working. This is our back loop, the one that's furthest away. So since I know that's where I'm going to be working, I'm going to take that stitch marker out and I'm going to work in the I'm going to work a half double crochet in the back loop only of that stitch. So yarn over, and I'm going to split that stitch from the top and just grab that back loop. Yarn over, pull through. I've got 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook, completing the first half double crochet of our row. And this is where I was saying earlier, you can see that we've just grabbed that back loop and the front loop is right here. Major says, I found myself looking like a cat playing with a ball of wool after a few episodes. Quite frustrating. I look like a fly in a spider's web. I've seen that before. It is a condition I've seen before, Major, but I'm still glad that you're here to partake in a little art and culture and hope that you won't give up if it's something that you're truly attempting to do. And Grace and Fire, it's beautiful, but I'm paying attention. My Manny. Okay, so this was our back loop, half double crochet. The next stitch over is this one right here. And we're going to do our half double crochet just in the front loop only. So yarn over and splitting that little V with our hook and just grabbing the very front loop. We're going to yarn over and pull our yarn through so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we've got a back loop half double crochet and then a front loop half double crochet. And this is where, as my work grows, you'll start to see where I can start folding down. Because if you look at your work like this, like I'm looking at it right now, traditionally, when we're working on our work, we're going to go in right here and go through both and grab both the front and the back loop. See how they're on my hook there? We don't want to do that here. We don't. We only want to grab either the front loop or the back loop. So this next stitch is the back loop, half double crochet. So I just kind of like to fold my work forward a little bit with my thumb so I can see that top little V. Yarn over. I like to use my hook and kind of push that front loop out of the way. Just grabbing the back loop, grabbing my yarn and pulling back through. So I've got 3 loops on my hook. Okay, so Grace and Fire, thank you. Now on the first row, did you do back and forth or just half double crochet? Row 1, we're on row 2 at the moment. Row 1 was just half double crochets all the way across into your beginning chain. Okay, so now we're on row 2, and this is the row 2 is where we start doing the front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. So row 1 down here was just half double crochets into your chain. You don't have to do half double crochets in front loop, back loop. You're just working in the chain. But here we're working on our third half double crochet of row 2. It's just in the back loop. We've already have our 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 3 loops. That's a back loop half double crochet. Our next one is going to be in this stitch right here, and we're going to do a front loop half double crochet. So we're going to go front, back, all the way across, yarn over, kind of stabbing that stitch from the bottom, poking up, yarn over and pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook, and yarn over and pull through the 3 loops on our hook. So that was a front loop half double crochet. Continuing on, like I said, I like to fold my work forward a little bit with my thumb so I can see this next stitch clearly. This one's going to be a back loop, yarn over, and again, I like to kind of push the front of that stitch forward a little bit and just grab the back loop, yarn over and pull my yarn back through. I've got 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So if I hold this up close here, hopefully with the shadowing of the light and as we start working, you're going to be able to see there's this little ripple effect starting where we've got back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. You're going to start seeing little ripples here in the front of your stitches, and you're going to start seeing little ripples of your half double crochets as they stagger between the front loop and the back loop. So we just completed a back loop. Our next stitch is right here, and this is going to be a front loop half double crochet. The entirety of this block is going to be just chaining up to your next row and then half double crochets across. The only thing that you'll be changing up is whether you're working in the front loop, front loop, back loop. All the way through our block, it's going to be the same as row number 2. Now our edging will be the same as in weeks prior. So let's get this row completed. And as we get into row 3 and then row 4, you'll start seeing this cute little ripple pattern starting to come together. So again, looking at our last stitch, we can see our front loop hanging out here in the front. So we know that we did a back loop half double crochet. This one's going to be a front loop double crochet. So yarn over, coming up from the bottom and splitting that stitch with our hook and grabbing just the front loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Good morning, Coupon Gale. Welcome in. So that was a front loop half double crochet. Now, like I said, I kind of like to fold my work forward so I could see the whole stitch here that I'm going to be working in, this one right here. And we want just the back loop. So yarn over. I'm going to use my hook to kind of just gently push that out of the way and just grab that back loop. Yarn over and pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3, and our half double crochet is completed. The next one's going to be a front loop. So yarn over. I'm going to grab just the front loop of that next stitch. And if you're really struggling, slow down a little bit and look to see where you're putting your hook. It should not be a struggle to get your hook in through these loops to do your stitches. Okay? Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So that was a front loop. This one's going to be a back loop. Yarn over, grabbing just that back loop of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And so I'm just going to continue going down this row, completing row 2. Again, alternating between front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. We started with a back loop, so that was number 1. We're going to be doing 25, so going, even, odd, blah, 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 we should end with a back loop. So this was a back loop. My next stitch is going to be a front loop. My next stitch is going to be a back loop. My next stitch is going to be a front loop. My next stitch is going to be a back loop. So all the way across, just alternate between front loop, front loop, back loop. And are you starting to see the little bit of texture that's starting to form in our block? It was a little different from our prior blocks. You'll see it as we go, and as our block grows, you'll see it a little bit more as the rows come together. So this is going to be a front loop, half double crochet, and a back loop, half double crochet. Now, if you get working and you find, oh my goodness, I went through the whole stitch, I didn't do a back loop, front loop, it's okay to pull those stitches out and go back. You're going to want to frog and go back to where you need to start your single loops again, your front loop, back loop. And it's going to take you a little while to look at things, and if you get distracted, like I love getting distracted, and it happens to me often, oh squirrel, just look back at your work, and you can look from the top down and look at your last stitch. If I look at this last stitch, if I bring it real close and let's take my hook out, and I look at this last stitch I completed, and let's say because I'm talking to you, I lost track. I don't know where I'm at. Was it a back loop? Was it a front loop? I don't know. I'm going to look at this half double crochet that I completed, and looking at it kind of from the top down, I can see I've got a little front loop right here. So that tells me I worked in the back loop. And that's where I can pick up where I was, and I know that my next stitch is going to be a front loop, half double crochet. Back, front, back, and front. And like I said earlier, we're going to have 25 stitches when we're done. So since I just did a front, and I know I want to end with a back loop, because my back loops are going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and across, all odd numbers, because number 1 was a back loop. We're going to go into our very first single crochet or half double crochet that we did right here, and we're going to complete a half double crochet in the back loop only, and that will be the very last stitch of this row. Yarn over and pull through all 3. And this is row number 2. I'm sorry if I said first row earlier. This is row number 2 of block number 5. Okay? And again, I don't know if you can tell, but we're starting to get just a little bit of a ripple in our work. Make sure it's not a ripple because your tension is too tight. Make sure it's a ripple because of working in the front loops and the back loops. Okay? So I'm going to leave row 2 instructions up, and I'm just going to tell you, and I will change this out in a little bit when I know that I've given you guys enough time to get caught up. I'm going to tell you that from now on, it's just a repeat of row 2 until our block is approximately, remember we discussed this before about approximately 7 inches. You can hold it up to your prior squares and make sure that your tension is good. Matter of fact, let's do that right now. Let's do that. I'm going to grab block number 2, I believe this was our half double crochet block, I think. And I'm just going to hold my work that I'm working on now and see about where I'm at. It should be about there, to about there. And I think as I work it, it stretches just a little bit, I should be okay. Okay? Because this is going to be an edge here, and then this is an edge here. So I think I'll be okay as I work this across. A little bit on the short side, but I'm not going to panic over it. We're just going to keep moving forward and see where we get. Double checking to make sure I am indeed working with a size H 5.0 millimeter hook. We're going to chain 2 and turn. Ooh, look, when I turn it over, you can really start seeing that little bit of a textured effect there. So again, this is my first half double crochet from the row before. You know what? I'm going to do like I did before just to show you, so it really shows what we're doing here. Again, I'm at 24 on this row. I'm going to yarn over and go through that last stitch and complete a back loop half double crochet. This is our stitch right here. I'm going to put that stitch marker in so I know that that's the first stitch I want to work on my next row. And again, if this helps, and we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And see there, I've already snagged the first back loop I want to work in for this next row. Okay, so now that I've identified it, I know that this is a chain and this is a chain. I don't want to work in those. I want to work in this stitch. This was the last stitch of the prior row. It makes it the first stitch of this row. I want to work right here, and I'm going to work in that back loop only. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take the stitch marker out now that I know where I'm at, and I'm going to complete a half double crochet right there in that back loop only, and that is the first stitch of our next row. Gail says, I almost cried yesterday because all of my stuff I mailed came back to me wanting more postage. Oh no, Gail. I'm frustrated. I can't mail out any more stitch markers now. It's going to cost $6 per set to mail now. Oh, Gail, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, that is difficult. That's one of the things I'm facing with sending things out here as well, because the postage it kills me. When I give things away, it kills me. And then it's difficult too, because sometimes I don't charge enough postage when I have a sale, and then I kind of have to eat that too. It's making it difficult. I completely empathize. I'm so sorry. I only wanted to make them to give away. Yeah, that's difficult. That is difficult. I'm so sorry to hear that, Gail. I really am. I understand how that is. I'm sure there's a solution to that. I just don't know what it is at the moment, but I'm sure if we all put our heads together, we'll come up with something. So continuing on row 3, we did our first stitch on row 3, which was a half double crochet in the back loop only. Our next stitch is right here, and we're going to complete the half double crochet in the front loop only. Yarn over, going again, I like to go a little bit underneath and push up and split that stitch, grabbing just the front loop. Yarn over and pull through. That leaves me with 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and I have a front loop half double crochet. And here, now that I've got a little bit of base to work with, this is where you can really see where I just use that thumb and fold over so I can see where that back loop is. This one's going to be a back loop. So yarn over, and I kind of push that yarn out of the way with my hook of that stitch, and I split it and just grab the back loop. Yarn over and pull through. That leaves me with 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 3. Front loop. So we're going to yarn over. Again, coming from the underneath a little bit makes it easiest to just split that stitch. Grab our yarn and pull it through. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Back loop. Again, I like to fold it forward a little bit so I can see it, and push the front loop out of the way and just grab the back loop with my hook. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Front loop. Back loop. Again, I like to fold it forward a little bit, find that back loop, and just grab that with my hook and complete my half double crochet. So I'm going to continue with my front loop, back loop across. Good morning, Daphne. Welcome in. It's nice to have you join us. Lisa says, someone mailed me a set of 3 stitch markers and a card, and it was regular postage, but they were pretty flat. Maybe something to consider, Coupon Gale. I'm not sure how flat they are, but maybe something to consider. Maybe put them in a card and take them to the post office. They have that little gauge that where they can slide the letters through and let you know whether it will go through as a regular postage. So look for that. So I can tell by this little front loop hanging out the front here that this last one was a back loop. So we're going to do a front loop for our next stitch. Front loop, half double crochet. Again, folding over just so I could see the top of my stitch. And I can just grab the back loop of that next stitch, completing a back loop, half double crochet. Front loop, back loop, front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back. So far, I am on track. Sometimes it's kind of nice to go back, just make sure that you haven't accidentally doubled up on a back loop or doubled up on a front loop. And again, as I work across doing front loop, back loop, I'm going to remember that when I get to the very end, I should be ending on a back loop. Now, I've said it before in other blocks when we get together, you crochet at your own pace, your own pace. You don't have to stay with the same pace as I do. These videos will be available for you to go back and look over. You can stop and rewind and pick up from where you need to. You don't have to crochet at the same pace. And Lisa says she wrote hand cancel on the envelope. I believe when you do a hand stamp, when you do hand cancel on the envelope, if it's a regular size envelope and the weight is good and it can fit through the slots, it's regular postage plus 15 cents. That's it. So what is a stamp now? Is it 55 or 57 cents? I just pay for them. I get the forever stamps. I don't even know how much they are anymore. But then get some stamps that are 15 cents. Check it with your postmaster. Make sure that those envelopes will fit, and you can do that. Digging for Health just popping in real quick to say hello. I have to come back later to watch. I love crocheting. Well, you're welcome back anytime, Digging for Health. We're doing a 63 square heirloom Afghan crochet along. We're on block number 5 today. There are tutorials on my channel for every stitch up to this point, and I will be dropping tutorials every week forward for left-handed crochet enthusiasts and right-handed crochet enthusiasts. And then we come together on Thursday mornings and we work on the block. So this is block number 5, and this is the front loop, back loop, half double crochet. And as this starts growing, we're going to start seeing this nice little textured pattern from our front loop, back loop. The light, I don't know if the light shows. I wish the shadows would show a little bit better. We've just got this nice little rippled effect starting in our work. So the last one I did here was a front loop half double crochet. Our next one's going to be a back loop. Again, folding that work over just a little bit so I can see where that is. Using my hook to push the front loop out of the way, and I just grab the back loop. Yarn over and pull my yarn through. I've got 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So yeah, consider possibly some PayPal, Gail. Well, thank you, Daphne. Thank you. It's going to be a beautiful Afghan. I will share with you, those of you who are just popping in, I completed an Afghan over 20 years ago for my very dearest friend from childhood for her wedding. It was their wedding gift, and she still uses it every day to this day. She uses that Afghan. So it's a family heirloom. It will be passed down. It's held together well, and every single block that we do of the 63 blocks will have a different stitch pattern. So it's a sampler. There's a front, And so we know that the last half double crochet from the prior row, this is our last one, we know it's going to be a back loop. So we're right on schedule here. We're right on par. This was a front loop that I just completed. We've got one stitch left to go, and this is going to be a back loop. And again, I kind of like to fold it forward and find, the ones on the ends are always the hardest one to see. Find that little back loop. It's usually hanging out there in the back right on the edge, and complete your half double crochet. And there is row 3. Now you may ask, if you want to think ahead, you might say, how many rows are we going to do in this block? Well, it really just depends on your tension. It depends on how you work. I can't give you a definitive answer on how many rows it will be, but we'll show you once we get worked up far enough how we've been determining whether our square is a true square as we get to that stage. So I've completed this row 3. And again, just for ease so that you guys become familiar with it, I'm just going to pop my stitch marker right there on that very last half double crochet that I did. We're going to chain up 2 and turn our work. And again, our instructions for this next row are exactly the same as they've been from before. So according to our stitch marker, we can clearly see that this is a chain, this is a chain, and here is our first stitch from the prior row. That's the one we're going to be working in. And we want that back loop only. It's right there. You see how that stitch marker has grabbed that back loop for us? It's very easily identifiable. I'm going to pop that out. And we're going to complete a half double crochet in that back loop only as per our instructions. There we go, just like that. And I want to share something with you guys. If you look at the instructions that are scrolling at the bottom of your page, I want you to see where that asterisk is. You see that asterisk as it rolls across, and then it says your next little bit of instructions? It then tells you repeat from the asterisk across. If you're learning how to read patterns, this is a very important part because you're going to have patterns where you're going to see an asterisk, and you know that from that asterisk forward, you just keep doing that until you get to your next set of instructions. So instead of rewriting this over and over and over in our instructions, it just lets you know this little bit of our instructions, we're just going to do that over and over and over again until I tell you different. So as you're learning to read patterns, just know that that asterisk actually means something. Sometimes it's a star. So just know that that's what that's for. So we've completed our first half double crochet in this row. It was a back loop. We're going to go to our very next stitch, which is a front loop. And I'm just going to kind of work across so that I don't throw you guys off a little bit too much. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. And yes, everybody's being encouraging of everybody attempting to learn how to do some of these stitches. We're going to yarn over. We're going to go into our very next stitch, which is a front loop, half double crochet. So very quietly to myself, I'm just going to start repeating to myself, back loop, front loop, using that thumb and folding that work down a little bit so I can see that back loop. I'm going to do a back loop. Coming in from the bottom and kind of pushing up, I'm going to do a front loop. Are you guys seeing a little pattern here in how I'm doing this as well? Let me point something out. We just completed a back loop. We're going to do a front loop. Watch what happens. When I yarn over, I'm coming up from the bottom of the next stitch and pushing up and completing my stitch. When the next one's a back loop, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going down into the stitch to grab just the back loop. So if you notice, there's a little pattern as I go of pushing up in my stitch, pushing down in my stitch, pushing up in my stitch, pushing down in my stitch, And just if you can kind of get that rhythm going, you'll know where you are in your pattern as you crochet. And it just kind of makes it flow. It's a little easier there. Down, up, down, up, down. Now, as you guys are working this, you're going to start feeling this texture as you work across. It's really, really nice. Can Mr. Jim just not purchase you a new one? Oh, goodness, a new what? What did I miss? I'm so tired, I even forgot what I said. Purchase a new what, Major? I've already forgotten what I said. Down, this one, up, down, up. Okay, now that since I just went up, we know that that is a front loop half double crochet. We're almost to the end of our row because we started with a back. We want to end with a back. We know that this is our last stitch right here. So we're going to fold that work over and find that V right there. Again, they're always a little bit crooked when they're on the very, very end of the row. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to just go from the top, push down, just grab that back loop and complete our half double crochet in that very last stitch. So there we have row 3. Is it row 3 or row 4 now? I don't know. We're just repeating row 2. We know we don't have a square yet, so we're just going to act like we know what we're doing. We're going to keep on going. This was our last stitch of that row, so just again, I'm just going to put that stitch marker in there to help you guys identify where that is. Oh, a new blanket. Are you talking about getting me a new blanket? Or are you saying I'm crocheting this blanket because I need a blanket and Papa Jim just needs to buy me a new blanket? Were you talking about my blanket that wasn't working anymore and I'm cold? Is that what this is? This the direction that's going in, Mr. Major there? We're good. Okay, so this is that back loop that I want. This is the stitch where I'm going to be working my next row in. So I've identified it. I can take that out and drop that. We're going to do a half double crochet right there. That's our back loop. And so we've got our back loop for our next row. We're going to go back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop. Okay, back loop. Let's do front loop. So we're going up through our stitch and completing a half double crochet, folding that work forward a little bit and finding the back loop and going down through that stitch with just the back loop and completing a half double crochet, up, front loop, down, back loop. All right, guys, I'm just going to keep working across here, doing my front loop half double crochets, back loop half double crochets. You'll start seeing how I get this rhythm going. And using that thumb on my holding hand to fold that work forward so I can identify where the back loop is as I go. You don't have to do that if it's not comfortable for you, but it does help you identify where your stitch is just a little easier. So do what's comfortable for you. And keep in mind, if you're not working at the same pace, it is quite all right. Going to move forward, otherwise we'll be here for a while. And I know that you guys have things you want to do. You want to not only work on your block, but you've got things you need to do for your homes and your family. Can't spend all morning with me, even though I'd like to. Plus, I started 9 minutes late because I forgot to hit go live. Got a little making up to do here, a little time to make up. So here we've got back. This one's going to be front. And I know I've got one more stitch hiding right here at the end. Good morning, Nuga Homestead. Good morning, CB. We've got one more here at the end. I'm going to fold that over a little bit, find my V for my prior stitch. I can see it right here and here. This one we know at the end is going to be a back loop half double crochet. So I'm just going to poke down through here and grab just that back loop and complete our half double crochet. And just for ease, again, we're just going to put our little stitch marker right there so we know where we're at when we turn our work. Thank you. All right, there's chain 2 and turning our work. All right, are you starting to see as we go how we're just starting to get this pretty little ripple effect? If you're crocheting along, I know you can feel it where these little stitches go up, down, and up and down. They're just little ripples. It's very, very textural, much different than our other squares that were smooth as we worked across. This has this little ripple effect that gives you just a nice little texture. So I do want to tell you guys something. You know, our first 4 blocks that we did, if you ever wanted to make a blanket or an Afghan or anything that you want to work on, if you wanted to make something bigger than just this square, and let's say you wanted to make a baby blanket with it. Let's say you wanted to make a baby blanket out of just the half double crochet right here. You know, you can determine how wide you want that blanket, and you can do your starting chain. This one, I believe, was 25 or 26. You can do your starting chain at 75 or 125, or whatever you want. And then you can just do that half double crochet back and forth to make a baby blanket as wide as you want, and then put an edging on it. And so that is where you can just do whatever number you want, okay? Starting today is where I'm going to share with you about what multiples are. So let's say that you have the same concept. You'd like to do an entire baby blanket with just this crochet stitch. You don't want to do 63 stitches. You just want to do something quick and easy, and you want to do something with just this. Well, I want to share with you, and I didn't put it in the my little scrolly things that are going across the bottom. I will update that. What I want to tell you for your multiples, if you wanted to make a baby blanket or something else with just this stitch, you want to have a multiple of 2 plus 1 chain. So let's say that you wanted to do a large baby blanket and you want to do the multiples of 2 plus 1 chain. You know that, let's say you want to start it and it's going to be, you know, X many inches wide. You can do 90 chains plus 1 or 100 chains plus 1. That's going to give you exactly what you need to make sure you have the proper amount of stitches as you go back and forth. So as you do these following squares, I will be sharing with you what the multiple is. Some of them are going to be a multiple of 3 plus 2. Some of them are going to be a multiple of 2 plus 1. It's going to change. So just know that from now on, I will be giving you that information in case you want to do a bigger project with just this stitch or whatever stitch we're working on. We have some really pretty stitches coming up, and it would be nice that if you just wanted to work on something separate in addition to our beautiful heirloom Afghan, I'll give you the multiples so you can get that started. So let me see what's going on here. Oh my goodness, CB's in lockdown for radiation treatment. And then freedom until 4/15, and then lockdown for Easter weekend. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And Grace says, I'm listening and working, not really chatting. I want you guys working. You don't need to chat. I'm here to chat. And then I'm also kind of checking the chat just in case anybody has any questions or anybody has any comments that I need to catch up on. But you guys, if you want to be working, if you're working at work for the day or if you're working on your block, I'll do the chatting. And I did see that Nisa said that she really loves the texture. And you can't appreciate it when you see it here on just the camera, but it really does have just a beautiful texture. If you are someone who is who really enjoys, like, what is it, kinetics with the feel of things, if you're a kinetic learner and you feel that, it's just really nice to have this little ripple effect that you can feel. So going on to my next row, I know that right here where I've got this stitch marker, that's going to be my first stitch that I'm going to do in this next row, and it's going to be a back half double crochet. I'm going to lose that stitch marker, and I'm going to get right to work in that back loop right there with my first half double crochet of this row. Oh, Coupon Gale put her PayPal link up on the community, on her community tab, if anybody would like to assist with some of the postage for the gifts that she's sending out. She is a very giving individual, and so this is something that she's doing from her heart, wanting to give people some stitch markers. And just because the way postage is right now, she could use a little assistance. So let's know that that's on her community tab. Okay, CB, well, we will keep you in our prayers. And thank you for keeping us updated on that, because I did ask you before. And hopefully, yeah, Glenda, hopefully these will start helping with how to read patterns. So like I said before, all of the patterns up until today, you can pick whatever number you want. You can pick 107, you can pick 72, it doesn't matter. But today, if you would like to make a baby blanket or a large Afghan or a lap throw, from this point forward with our blocks, this one here is a multiple 2 plus 1. So I've got my back loop half double crochet here. I'm going to continue forward and start working across. I'm just saying to myself, quietly back, front, and I'm to the end of my row. And I know that this is going to be a back. I'm going to fold that over a little bit, find that back loop, and complete my row with the back loop. I'm going to add my little stitch marker because we know it helps us identify. Okay, Lynette, thank you so much for joining me. And be sure to catch the replay if this is something that you're doing with us. It's rhythmic watching and relaxing. Oh, good, CB. I'm glad. I'm glad it's a relaxing thing. I want this to be a relaxing time. I know for some who are just learning to crochet, it can be frustrating. I want everybody to see it doesn't have to be frustrating. It can be relaxing. And I myself enjoy the rhythmic movement of the crochet hook with the yarn. It's pretty neat. And that's why so many people find crochet to be relaxing. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And thank you, Major. It's coming together nicely, isn't it? We're going to crochet up 2 and turn our work. And again, since we did our little stitch marker, we know that this is the very first stitch we want to work in. Let's take that out. not lose sight of where we were working, and we're going to do a half double crochet in the back loop. We start every row with a back loop. We end every row with a back loop. Can you show me how to count the stitches again? I want to make sure I have 25 and I'm confused. Okay, let me lay my work down, Nisi. I'm going to take my hook out. And starting in our prior row, this row that we've just completed right here, our very first stitch is indented to the back, okay? So we're just on this pattern here. Let's just count the ripples and then we'll count the top. But if we count just the ripples going across, our first stitch is in the back. This is a crochet up right here. This is our first stitch here. So 1 is in back, 2 is in front, 3 is in back, 4 is in front, 5 is in back, 6 is in front, 7 is in back, 8 is in front, 9 back, 10 front, 11 back, 12 front, 13 back, 14 front, 15 back, 16 front, 17 back, 18 front, 19 back, 20 front, 21 back, 22 front, 23 back, 24 front, and tucked right back here in the corner is 25 in the back. Okay? So we've got 25. Let's look at it from the top. Okay, Nisi? I'm going to hold my work kind of this way so you can see all of the little stitchy V's there. So we already know that we did our first half double crochet in our first stitch, and that's, goodness, that's right here, okay? We did our back one there. So this is that first V, that's our first stitch of the prior row, so that's 1. And then our little V's, we count along as we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I want to make sure I don't get out of camera here. I lost where I was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And right here on the corner, again, they kind of roll over and tuck. You can see right there's 25. Right there is 25. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And again, on this particular pattern, remember, we're starting with a back and we end with a back. So if we start with a back and we have 25 stitches that we're working across, okay, wait a second here. Because I count from the top V's, I'm counting 16. Now you're at 26. You should have 25. Make sure you're not counting your chain 2 as an actual stitch. If you do the back front, now when I counted this right here, Nisi, this is a chain 2, so don't count that chain 2. The back one is 1, 2, 3. So if you're counting 26, you've added something somewhere. So you have two choices. Well, I don't want to say you have two choices. You can either continue forward with 26 if you're not too far into it. I think your counts are going to be off as you go. I would frog a row, go back and count and see if you can get 25. And I'd like to encourage you, don't count the top V's until you know where you're at. Count the ripples. Again, if you count the ripples on any row that you're going to do, just remember your chain 2. Okay, so let's look at this row below. Since this is the back side of my work, my first one's towards me, but it's still a back loop. Remember over here, it was a back loop. So you can count the up downs as your count and see if you can get back to where you need 25, okay? You want 25 half double crochets across. And it's easy. If you notice when you're working on something, if you notice that your work starts coming in this way, it means you've missed a stitch somewhere and you've started pulling it in. If you notice that towards the end of a block or something, you're starting to see it V out a little bit, it means you might have added an extra stitch. So go take out your last row, Nisi, and then see where you're at. If you have to, if you've completed a row as you frog it, count each stitch as you take it out, and you might find, oh, I've got 26 there, or you might go, oh, I've got 25. So I was good. Redo your 25 and then continue forward. Just make sure that when you use the stitch markers, I know that you love using the stitch markers as I do. Make sure you use them and do your count as you go. So we do want 25 as we work across each row, or else your work's going to grow, and we don't want it growing out that way. So, and that's what's great about the fact that we're going to be able to stop and rewind and go forward. Major wants to know, how do you cast off so everything didn't fall apart? Casting off is in knitting. We don't necessarily cast off. That's not the term we use for crochet. We finish off. So when we're done with our work, and I'm just going to use this as an example, Major, anytime you change colors or when you're done with your work, if you just pull that loop through, you pull that yarn through, and then you cut your yarn, you just pull that loop through, kind of like if you tie your shoes and you accidentally pull the loop too far and then you end up with a knot. I think you should or could do a paper pattern, make it easier for myself, but I'm just stupid. Well, number one, you're not stupid. And number two, writing it on paper, I've got it scrolling across the bottom, and I'm trying to teach everybody how to actually read it as we go. But that's my written pattern right there, is what's going across the bottom there, Major. And I've kept that up there for you guys. I'm trying to, as best as I can, explain things as we go. And then if I write it out, I'd have notes everywhere. But I know you're really trying, Major, so I appreciate that. You're completely confused and starting over, Nisi. Okay, that's okay. Remember, I've got our, let me go back here real quick. It's a multiple of 2 plus 1. I believe our starting chain was 27. If I look at my banners real quick, just so that you know, it's 27 is your starting chain, and then you half double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and in each chain across, you will have a total of 25 half double crochets, and that's your first row. Then we start row 2, and those instructions are going across on the banner, Nisi. So I'm glad you counted early on and you realized that there was a discrepancy in your numbers and that you're going to frog and start over, because I'd rather you start now than when you get way too far into your pattern there. And you know, we were talking earlier about doing a larger piece of work. This is where it's really nice to do a little swatch. You can do a swatch of, say, 21 chains, and then you can get it until you understand where your counts go, how many you're going to have across, and then you can do your larger work. Hello, LG, welcome. So our very first stitch of this row was the back half double crochet. We're going to do a front half double crochet in this stitch right here. So again, we're going to go up from the underneath part and split that stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook, completing our first front half double crochet. This one's going to be in the back loop. So I like to fold my work forward, and going in from the top down, just grab that back loop there, yarn over and pull our yarn through that stitch, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Front. And I'm going to work across, guys. Back. Oops. That one just didn't want to cooperate, did it? I'm tired because now I've just split that back loop. Make sure you get the entire back loop on there. There we go. Back, front, back, front. And I know that I'm almost to the end of my row. The last stitch should be a back loop. You're going to start your row with a back loop, and you're going to end your row with a back loop. And again, this may look like I'm done with this row because it looks like I'm at the end, but remember, I've got this little V, this little stitch hiding right here. I need to get the back loop of that one. It's not my chain 2, and pull it across. And then chain 2. So because we're working with an odd number in this square, and we have 25 stitches across, we're starting with a back loop, we're ending with a back loop because it's our back loops will be stitch 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, and then 25. So we're always going to start with a back loop and end with a back loop. So that's really a nice way to keep track of where you're at as well, because when you get to the end of your row and you're ending with a front loop, if you can't find that last stitch to put a back loop in, it might mean that somewhere over here something went awry. So you're going to start with a back loop, end with a back loop. Now I didn't use my stitch marker on this one because I want to see where I'm supposed to stitch. Again, we're going to be working on this prior row. Here are our stitches below us. This is a chain. These are our chains. We're not starting here. We're starting in this right here. So we're going to do a back loop, half double crochet to start our row. Thank you, LG, Lori. And then we're going to do a front. And I'm going to work across again. I'm not going to speak too much with numbers so I don't throw people off on their counts. And I also want to assure all of my friends here today, if you're doing this, and if you're experiencing a little bit of a, I don't want to say setback, this is not a setback, but if you're having a little bit of frustration or your numbers are off or your count is off and it's a little irritating, it's okay to just set your work down, take 5 minutes away from it, regroup, and you can come back to it the next day. The video will still be here, so you can watch it again. You can watch the tutorial again. I did not do a complete row across for the tutorial. The tutorial just shows the how the stitches worked in the loops. But this will still be here. It'll be up on my channel. So if you just want to grab a cup of coffee, if you're feeling a little frustrated and you just want to hang out and chat and then come back to this later today or tomorrow or later in the week, you can. It will be here for you. I do want this to be a relaxing experience. I want this to be when you get this blanket put together and you've got pride saying, oh my gosh, I completed this beautiful blanket and it was so relaxing and wonderful and I'm so proud of it. I don't want it to be where you're saying, oh no, oh God, this was the worst experience ever because it was so frustrating. I don't want it to be that for you. So make sure if you have to, you can take a little break. It's okay. So here I just completed a front, and this is that last little stitch. It kind of turns wonky when I'm here at the end, and I'm going to get the back loop and do that. And that is my last row right there. And you guys can start to see just a little bit. I'm hoping you can see. Let me see if I can catch some shadow. Trying to catch shadow. There's just this lovely little ripple texture. It's so nice. Oh, good, Nisi, you got it worked out. Yeah, you have to use your stitch markers, hon, because it really does help that you don't do it in that chain 2 spot. And this is our last one here. And I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to put that right there so that when I do my chain 2 and turn, I'm not going here with my first half double crochet because that's where our chain was. So I'm guessing by what you've just shared with us, that might be what happened there. So we know with our chain marker right here, our stitch marker, we're going to work in our back loop right here. This is not our first chain or our first stitch from the prior row. This is a chain. This is our first stitch right here. So I'm going to take that out and do a half double crochet, and that is back. I'm glad you were able to work that out, Nisi, and fairly early in your project as well. So it's not too much of a frustration, and hopefully you didn't have to frog out too much. So I'm going to continue on. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. And I know you guys have other things to do. So I did a back. I'm going to do front. I wish I had some music going. Then it would be really relaxing. Huh, Lori? Do you know, if I had music going, I'd probably go to sleep because I'm only going on about 3 hours of sleep right now. Back, front, and I'm at the end, and I only have to do one more to make it a back. And we're just going to find that little back loop at the end there and complete with a back loop half double crochet. I'm going to grab my stitch marker here and just mark that that was our last stitch of that row, and then I can chain 2 and turn. Hello, hello. Casey, how are you? I'm at work, so falling asleep would not be good right now. No, please don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. Hello, Casey. I'm glad you're able to pop in. Don't fall asleep while you're working. No, 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 no. Casey, I did record some basic beginning crochet 101 for you, and I'm going to be working on editing those and getting those up so you can learn how to do the chain, learn how to do your slip stitch. So later on, when you're not working so hard on that farm, getting your homestead set up, if you want to sit down in the evenings with your fur baby and you can just start working on some crochet and you can join us. So I'm at the end of that row. I'm going to chain 2 and turn. And again, this is that stitch I'm going to work in right here. It's marked for us. I'm going to work in that back loop. I'm going to take that stitch marker out. I'm going to do a half double crochet right there in that back loop. And then my next stitch is the front loop only. Again, back loop. And then the next stitch is front loop. And another good thing to remember as we work across is the back loop. I'm going from the top down and splitting that stitch and grabbing the back loop and completing a half double crochet. The next stitch, I'm coming up from the bottom and splitting that stitch and grabbing just the front loop and doing a half double crochet. And so I'm going to work across again without counting numbers because I don't want to throw you guys off. Now see, while I was talking, I kind of forgot where I was. So let's see. This last stitch that I did, let me grab something to point with here. This last stitch that I did, I can see I've still got my front loop right here in front. See, right there? There's my front loop of that stitch. So I know that I completed that stitch in the back loop. So this stitch will be a front loop. Also, this stitch is a front loop, half double crochet. It's popping up towards the front. The back loop one is kind of tucked down a little bit in the back. So we have this up and down little pattern starting. So when I look at it, even though I stopped to talk, I know that right here I worked a back loop because I still have this little front loop catching in the front. You know, another thing that you want to do when you're working across is make sure that you don't do a back loop and then mistake the front loop of that same stitch is where you need to work your next stitch because you'll end up working 2 of them in there. You don't want that. You want to make sure you move over. This was our stitch. We're moving over to the next stitch to grab our next one. So this is a back loop. We're going to do a front loop, half double crochet, back loop, half double crochet, front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. Boy, I sure do hope I have enough time on StreamYard. I don't know how many hours I'm up to on my free StreamYard. I hope I have enough to complete today and then also do our piñata stuffing on Saturday. We're going to be busting out poor Mr. Jim, poor Papa Jim's busting out his wallet, and we'll be doing our piñata stuffing for our Team Weenie Watchers and our upcoming vacation trip that we want to take. I hope I have enough StreamYard hours because, boy, my coffee chat went longer than I thought it would yesterday, too. Once you get me talking, I just don't stop. Front, back, front. And again, I'm not done. I've just got this little end here. I know I have to finish off with a back. I'm going to fold that over a little bit. There's my V. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go through just that back little part of that V from the front. I'm sorry, from the top down, grabbing that back loop and completing my half double crochet. I'm going to put my little chain marker on there because it does help. These little chain markers can be your best friend. And we're going to chain 2. And Nisi says she's on track. Wonderful, wonderful. And Glenda, we will see you. You have a great day. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing your finished product when you get it all done. And I know you've been doing great work. Glenda has been sharing her squares that she's finished so far, and she's doing a wonderful job. And so I look forward to seeing block 5 when you're all done with that. So I chained 2 in turn. And Laura, see if you can get Greg interested in this. You know, some people think that this is just a woman's craft. Do you know that way back in Renaissance days, men crocheted because that's how they did their fishing nets. They crocheted fishing nets. They would just have these big hooks and they would crochet things for their fishing nets. They would do mending with their fishing nets with crochet hooks. It's not just a woman's only thing, guys. We can all do this. And I would really love to see Greg get interested in this. And I'm very happy that Casey has shown an interest in this as well. So that's why I did a tutorial that I'll be working on so that Casey can get caught up and he can learn his basic stitches and join us like he's joining us now. All right, so here's my stitch marker. I've already chained up. I'm going to start my next row. I'm going to take the stitch and pause it. And I know that that back loop right there, that's my first stitch, is a half double crochet in the back loop, followed by a half double crochet in the front loop. And I'm just going to work my way across so I can get to where we put our edging on. Now, if I lose you guys, because if I go over on my StreamYard, just know that you want to end up with a square like we've done in the prior weeks. If you need to go back to see how to determine if your project is square, do that if I lose you for any reason. And then you want to do your edging the same that we did as our edging for the last block. You don't want to finish off and then do edging. You want to just continue once you're done getting your square. You want to do your edging as we've done in the weeks prior. And in the weeks prior, you'll have your banners that will walk you through your edging. It's only when we change up colors that we do any type of finishing off and then doing round 2 of edging. This one, since this is our primary color, we're going to do edging round 1 and edging round 2 with this same color. So we will not be finishing off. We'll just keep working once we get to a square. But I've got to get there. I've got to get there. Oh, did I goof up? Did I goof up? Let's see. Front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, front. I almost went in the front. Here we're going to do a back. See, I almost goofed because I got talking. Front, half double crochet, and I've got one more to do. Fold over just a little bit there and get that back loop on that first little stitch there and complete my half double crochet. I'm going to chain 2. The crows are cawing outside. I'll go right here. Am I going to go there? I didn't use my stitch marker and I got distracted by a crow. There's our last stitch. Put that stitch marker right there. 1, 2. There's no shame in my game. I use the tools that I've got to make sure I do my work well. Your stitch markers can really be helpful. So right here is the stitch we want. And we're going to do a half there, front, back, half double crochet, front, half double crochet, and a back. My yarn keeps getting tangled in my mic stand. And front. Okay, just checking the chat real quick. Front, back, front, back. I appreciate all of you being here today. I appreciate everybody being so polite and encouraging of each other as we're learning how to crochet these blocks together. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, please gently hit the thumbs up and let us know if you have enjoyed your time here so far. Appreciate the thumbs ups. And if you know somebody who likes to crochet, maybe they're a new crocheter, or even if they've been crocheting for a while, if you think that they would like to join in on this heritage, I always want to say heritage, and it's heirloom, our heirloom Afghan crochet along, let them know. Let them know what we're doing here. It's a relaxed setting. There's no pressure. There's our front. Remember, I've got one more to do. I need to fold that over a little bit and find that last little stitch V and just grab that back one there and complete. And that is our next row. I think a couple more rows I might be able to check. If I run out of hours on StreamYard, you can use Restream. If I run out of hours on this one, I know that hopefully I can set something up for our pinata stuffing. I can do what's that other one called? It just jumped right on my brain. I forget what it's called. I know there's another one, but I'll look into Restream too. Thank you. Because I think I was getting close. I just don't want it to end while we're doing this. And I've had such issues with trying to set up lives and then I have to cancel them, and I cancel them on the StreamYard end, but they don't cancel when I cancel them over on YouTube, and then there's confusion and oh my goodness. So here's my stitch marker. That's where I'm going to put my back loop, half double crochet, and work across for this row. So there was back, here's front. And again, I'm just going to work across. I'm not going to say any numbers. And as you work this, you'll start getting the feel and understand whether or not you have both loops on your hook, which you don't want for this stitch. You want either the front loop or the back loop. As you start working this stitch, it will start really becoming familiar, and you'll know whether you've got both loops on there. Just make sure you take them off, go back, start that stitch over, and make sure you just grab either the front or the back, depending on what your pattern calls for. This was a back loop. This is a front loop. Our next one's going to be our back loop. Here we're coming to the end. There's a back loop, a front loop. We're almost to the end. I know I've got one more stitch right here to work with, and I'm going to fold that work over a little bit and find that back loop. It's right there. I'm going to stab that little back loop and grab it and complete our last half double crochet of that row. Now, we see here I'm almost to a square. We're not quite sure if they're there yet. I'm going to fold over from catty corner, corner to corner, fold it over, and see if I have a perfect triangle. And I don't. I don't have a perfect triangle yet. I still have this here. I want this corner to end up over here. And I'm going to say, based on what I'm looking at here, I bet you 1, 2 more rows will probably have me at a perfect square. So I'm going to add my stitch marker to my very last row. You're perplexed. I'm sure it will work out. Keep going. You're going to, Major, you can go back and watch things. If you get yourself your materials and you're trying to do this, don't give up. You'll get it. It takes practice. This is something that takes some people many, many years. And so you just don't give up. If it's something that you think you'd really enjoy and something that you want to make projects out of, you can keep going. So here's the stitch that I'm going to be working in. I'm going to lose that stitch marker and not lose place of where I was. I'm going to do a back half double crochet, that back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop. And I'm going to keep working across. So here we have a back loop, front loop. So I know I need to end on a back loop. I'm going to fold this end over here, right here, and find that back loop. Oops. And grab. Just see how I accidentally got 2 on my hook? I just want that back loop there and complete my last half double crochet. Now, since I said I know I'm going to need 1 or 2 more, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fold this over again and see where we're at. See if I've got that triangle yet, and I don't. So I think that 1 more row will get us to where we are perfectly square. So again, using my stitch marker, I'm going to just collect the very last part of our last half double crochet there. I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. So for our last row here, I know that this is where I want my first stitch to go. Again, according to our pattern, it's going to be a back loop half double crochet. So I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to grab just the back loop of that stitch right there. Okay, and I'm going to count them across to make sure that our count is good. Now I know, I'm almost pretty confident here that we're good because my square is square. I don't have it veering out this way as I work on it. I don't have it veering in, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up with 25 half double crochets across. So let's double check that. I just worked 1, which was a back loop. Here's a front loop. So let's work this as we go across. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and again, it looks like I'm at the end, but I know I'm not. I need to catch that last little V right there and do it in the back loop only, 25. Okay, let's check that square again, see where we're at. We're going to take this corner, bringing it over to that corner, and see if we end up with a perfect triangle. And there we go. We know that this block is truly square now, so now we can move on to our edging. So let me pull the banner up for our edging round 1. And again, you don't have to crochet at the same pace that I am. You can finish your block, making sure it's square, and then come back. Okay, so there's no pressure. You can come back and watch this, and then you can put your edging on when you're ready. Okay, so for our edging round 1, we're going to just chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. Right here is that last stitch that we did. We're going to do 3 single crochet in this stitch. So 1, and you know what I'm going to do? Just going to put a stitch marker in that first one, just so we know that was our first one. So 1, 2, and again, my yarn is tangled. 3 single crochet in that very first stitch right here. What this does is this is going to start the corner for our round of our edging. So this is our very first corner. So there is our chain, 3 single crochet in that last stitch. So now what we want to do is we want to work 25 single crochet across. Now we already know that we have 25 stitches across here. 1 stitch is going to be used up for the 3 in this corner, and 1 is going to be used up for the 3 in this corner. That leaves us 23 stitches in between. So we know that partway through we're going to double up a little bit and do 2 single crochets in a stitch, and partway across again we're going to double up and put 2 single crochet in a single stitch. That way we'll end up with those 25 single crochets in between, leaving our very last one for our corner. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to put number 10 in that same stitch right there. 10. Continue across 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, put 20 in the same stitch right there. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and we still have our corner available for us to do our 3 single crochet in a corner to make our next corner. Okay, Lori, thank you so much for popping in. It was very nice to see you. I hope you enjoyed your time with us. Come back if you want to learn how to do this. Again, I'm going to be putting up some beginning crochet tutorials to teach you how to just start with the basics, and then our very first square teaches you how to do this single crochet. So all the tutorials will be there for you if you would ever like to join us, or you can encourage Greg to join us as well. We'd love to have them. Even if you just want to hang out and do something relaxing or watch something relaxing. Like you said earlier, it was relaxing you. You're welcome in here anytime. We'd love to have you, Lori. Have a great day. So good to see you. So here we are at our corner, our very last stitch, I should say, of our prior round. We're going to do 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if we're looking at the top of our work here, we have our first corner right here. We did 25 single crochet across, and we've got our next corner here. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of rotate our work, and we're going to do 25 single crochet across here until we get to this corner. And this will give us our second side to our first round of edging. Now we don't have to find stitches to work in here. We're going to have to figure out how to evenly get 25 across here. So what I like to do is I like to fold my work in half and find about where our middle spot is. It's right here. You know what I need? I really do need more stitch markers. Give me 1 second. Let me see what I did with my stitch markers. Well, I don't know what I've done with my stitch markers, friends. They're here somewhere. Well, bummer. I know that they're probably so close that if they were a snake, they'd bite me. But I just don't know what I've done with all of my lovely little stitch. Oh, they're right here. Here they are. Let me grab a blue one. That would be great, Lori. All right. So we've got our little square, our block folded in half, and I know that this is the halfway point right about in here. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going to put that little blue stitch marker right there. And when I unfold this then, I know that in between this corner and where that's marked, I want to put between 12 and 13 single crochet because I want 25 across. Half of 25 is roughly 12 or 13, depending on where you put them. So I'm across to here, I'm going to try to get 12 or 13 evenly spaced single crochet. So you want to make sure that your first one is not going to be in that same spot where you put your corner. You're going to move over a little bit. So I'm going to do 1, I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right here, I'm just going to put 12. There's 12 single crochet. That makes it down to the middle part of our block. So since I did 12, I knew I have to do 13 across to here. I'm going to take that stitch marker out because it's done its job. Thank you very much. And we're going to do 13 across here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I still have to do 3 and I have a short little space here. So I'm going to put 11 in there with that one. And then 12. Start 12 over again because I snagged an extra little bit of yarn there. 12. And I'm going to put 13 right. Oh, I want to grab more than one piece of yarn. There's, oh goodness. There's 13 right there. Okay. So now what's really nice is because it's the same color yarn, you really can't see if there's any discrepancies or any issues with where we place those 25 across. We didn't have defined stitches to work in, so we just put them where we could across so that we have 25. Can I put my friend Ellen's link in the chat? She just started a channel. That would be fine, Gail. Okay, so there's our 25, and we want to work now in this corner here of our work. We're going to put 3 single crochet again so that we can do our next corner. So here's 1, 2, and 3. So as we look at our work now, as we look at our block, we've got our, ooh, my thing came out here. Get back in there and do your job, little chain marker. We've got our first corner right here. We've worked across our 25 single crochet. We've got our next corner here. We've worked across our 25 single crochet. We've worked our third corner here. And again, we're going to turn our work. We're just going to rotate it a little bit. And we're going to work now along what is technically the bottom of our block. This was our original chain when we started. So you were going to have little areas, little spaces, again, really well defined across. Again, this is our corner. We're going to do another corner here, which means we have 23 across the bottom to work with. So again, we're going to have to double up a couple of times to make sure we end up with 25. We want 25 single crochet across. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to put 10 right there in the same one with 9 just so we have to double up. So there's 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'm going to put 20 in with the same stitch. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And I must have goofed. Probably didn't have to double up somewhere. I'm going to go back to where I doubled in that one stitch. That's why it's important to count, friends. Here we're going to go 20, 21, 22. Excuse me. 23, 24. Now we've got 25. Somewhere I did a boo-boo, but you know what? That was easy enough to fix. A frog in my throat. Right here is right where we started our very beginning chain, right here. And so we're going to do 3 single crochets in that corner to make our next corner. 1, 2, 3. And again, we're going to rotate our work a little bit. And again, we have an uneven side. So we're going to fold our work over, find approximately where the middle is. We're going to use our little stitch marker here to indicate where that middle is. And we're going to do between 12 and 13 single crochet in whatever spaces we can find across here. Now again, if you want to, you can crochet over your tail. Make sure you leave a nice long tail when you start your project. You can crochet over it, and then I would suggest leaving a little end that you can still sew back in, or you can tuck it behind and then sew it in when you're done. I like to tuck it in, or I'm sorry, I like to tuck it behind. And I know Nisi likes to crochet over. So it's all a personal preference. There's no right way, there's no wrong way when it comes to that. As long as you leave yourself a nice long tail that you can secure, that's what's important. So let's get 12 or 13 across single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, my stitch marker fell out. I didn't secure it. 13. I was close to the middle with 13 there. Let's try to evenly space out 12 across the rest of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Little stitch markers trying to back out. And let's just put 12 right here. Close enough. Okay, so we've got 25 across here. We have our little pink stitch marker that's trying to run away that tells us where our very first single crochet was. We want to do a slip stitch in that single crochet. So right there, right there. Can I get it even with my little stitch marker in there? We're going to go through, this is a little different now. We're going to go through both the front and the back loop. We're going to grab both that front and that back loop. Grab your yarn and pull it through. And pull it through the loop on your hook, and that completes a slip stitch. Okay. Now, on some of our work, we'll be finishing off here and changing colors. This one, since this is our main color, we're going to continue with this color. And let me bring up round 2 of our edging. Here we go. We're almost done, guys. Now we're going to slip stitch to the middle of this corner. Now we know since we just slip stitched into the first one, and we have 3 in the corner, the middle of our corner is going to be number 2. So we're just going to slip stitch into our number 2 right there. And we're going to chain 1. Okay. We're not going to turn. We're just going to keep working around our block. In that same stitch that you slip stitched into and then you chained 1, we're going to do 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. I've got some yarn barf. Let me fix that little knot there. Okay, now we're going to work 27 single crochet across until we get to the next corner. And that may be confusing some of you because we did 25. How are we going to get 27? Well, remember, we had 3 in this corner and we had 3 in this corner. Our next corners are going to go in the middle, so that leaves an extra one on each side. So that adds to our 25. So we ultimately have 27 single crochets that we're going to work across. So we did our 3 single crochet in the corner, and let's work 27 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and here's our single crochet at the corner that we are going to do 3 single crochet in that stitch to make our corner. 1, 2, and 3. And we don't even need our stitch markers anymore. We're good. So there is round 2, just the first side of round 2 for our edging. Now we're going to work down the side, but since we did all of these little single crochets, we're going to have perfect little stitches to work in. We're going to do 27 across the side now, down the first side of our block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and here we've come to our corner. We're going to do 3 single crochet in the corner so we can round that corner nice and neat. And there is our second part of our edging for row 2 of our edging, round 2. Round row, you all know what I'm talking about here. We're going to go ahead and rotate. Let me see what's going on here in the chat. I think it's just you and I now. I think so too, and that's okay. It's okay, Nisi. Thank you for hanging with me. I appreciate it. I mean, my goodness, I'm coming up on 2 hours. I started late and then I just talked forever. So I'm just going to keep on counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 3 single crochet in our corner. 1, 2, 3. And our little square is coming together. I know it looks a little wonky, but as it comes together. Oh, Casey, you're still here and you're stuffing your face. Well, thank you for sticking around with us. I've got to admit, I have not even had breakfast yet. I've had a half a cup of coffee and 3 hours sleep, and here I am just working away on this lovely little block. Okay, one more side to go. We need to have 27 single crochet as we work along the final edge. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and right here, 27. Now you want to go to your first single crochet, not right here. This was your chain. We don't want this chain. You want the first single crochet that you worked for this round. You're going to slip stitch into both the front and the back loop, making sure they're both on your hook. Grab your yarn and pull it through the loop on your hook, completing that slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to cut our yarn, leaving ourselves a nice long tail. Our block is done. Oh, come on now. There we go. And pull your yarn through your work. Using your thumbnail and your fingernail, just kind of pinch that yarn and pull, tug nice and snug, and you've got a really nice knot right here that will never get out. I've got to get dressed and ready for my regular live. Okay, Nisi, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a little bit more fun doing something than just our regular foundation stitches that we were working on. It's got a nice little texture to it. I love the way that this one feels. I love the way that it looks. We're going to start getting into more fun patterns as we go. And yeah, it's a little wonky, but it will work out as we go. Let's compare it to our block number 2, our half double crochet from before. A little tight on this one, but you know what? It's going to be okay. If I have to, I can go back later and I can add another row like we discussed before and make it so it fits a little bit better. I think that's going to happen as we do these squares. But then again, as I stitch this one here, it's going to just pull that pattern out a little bit. I might go back. Nisi, you might have to too as well. You might have to go back and just put another row on. Just make sure you have 27 in between your corners. So that means as you come across, you're probably going to have to double up and single crochet together twice on each row. And that way that will work into this one here. Because our other ones were kind of loosey-goosey, because it's you and I have the same issue. Sometimes we crochet tight, sometimes we crochet loose, but this one's actually pretty close to my single crochet that we started with. I mean, it's just like right there. I just got a little loopy-whoopy here, but it's very close to my single crochet one. So I might add another round right here of my edging just so that it doesn't stretch too much and I keep that nice little thing there. So keep that in mind when you get your edging, Nisi. Compare it to one of your squares, maybe your single crochet or half double crochet. See where it measures up and add an extra row if you need to, just keeping in mind that as long as between your corners you've got 27 single crochet together every once in a while if you have to. All right, friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's square. The tutorial for next week will be up on Monday, so make sure that you check those out for left-handed and right-handed. It's a pretty little stitch called the Trinity. You're going to enjoy it. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend coming up. And I look forward to seeing all of you next Thursday. Thank you, Nisi, for hanging out to the end, and also to Casey from Ormsby Farms. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Toodles. Bye-bye.